What's going on, everybody? Saturday live stream, something different. Mainly, we're doing Saturday live stream because I couldn't do the live stream last night, and I want to talk about how crazy this week has been. But good to see everybody. I'm going to let the video catch up for a second, which I think we are there. Metalheads, Mr. Metalhead was the first one here. Good to see you. Jupiter One, Fish and Floral, Dank Tanks, Liquid Zoo. Anyways, I'm going to catch you guys up. I do have a list of stuff I want to talk about. This might not be a very long live stream because I am sick. I'll talk about that as part of this week's update. Excuse me. So, this week, I had to travel for work. I had to go do some training on a new car that's coming out. I don't really like how this is set up. Can I fix this without breaking it? I don't know. Anyways, had travel for work, and of course, like my last day. Apparently, the camera's turning now, and Charlotte's here too. So, I had travel for work, and of course, the last day in training, I started getting a cold. So right now, it's probably at its peak of suckiness. Maybe yesterday was its peak. Maybe Friday was its peak, but you don't feel good basically. So I had training this week. I had to work yesterday, and what kind of snowballed this week was on Monday I was at work. I was basically gone Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Monday, my friend texted me. She said her car broke down, like couldn't drive it type of breakdown. And I already kind of knew what the issue was from talking to her previously. Another shop looked at it, and well, anyways, I knew it needed this part. I was like, yeah, I'll order the part. I can have it overnighted. I'll do it tomorrow. So she said, cool. Had her car towed to my house. I completely forgot I was leaving the state for work. So I messaged her like, holy crap, I'm sorry. Like, I won't be here tomorrow. I'll be up in Michigan. So she ended up borrowing one of her friend's cars for the week. So that worked out. So I knew yesterday, Friday, I would have to stay late after work to work on her car, so that way she can get her car back and get to work or do whatever she needs to do. My parents watched the dogs while I was out of town, so I also have to go. I had to go to their house to get the dogs Friday after I finished that car. I was originally going to get the dogs Thursday night when I got back to town, but the big day came yesterday, and I got my roof replaced. And I'll show you guys that here in a minute because that just adds to all this fun stuff that happened yesterday. So yesterday, the good part about yesterday was, or maybe it's not good, but we kind of ran out of work like early in the afternoon. Like work's just been super slow the last few weeks. But because we ran out of work, I was able to work on my friend's car before 5 o'clock. I got everything done. She also got two new tires that we kind of threw in there. Like, hey, while I have your car, let's do these two tires that she was talking about needing for a while. So I did her tires, fixed her car, all before 5 o'clock. Well, at 4 o'clock, I get a text message from my contractor who's doing the roof. He says, hey, give me a call when you can. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. And let me start this story off with they were going to rip all of my old shingles off, put new shingles down. And the main reason I'm doing this, because the shingles were like 8 years old. They shouldn't have been having to been replaced yet. But what happened was the wood, where two pieces of plywood are meeting, bowed up. And when they bowed up, it like ripped the shingles up. So we knew we had like two pieces of bad wood. There was another section where the power to my house comes in. There's like a pole, and that also, I need to fix this so it doesn't move. Okay. Where the power pole is on the roof, the power pole started leaning, so it was like, I don't know if the wood was rotting out there. So we knew we needed like three pieces of plywood. If anybody's doing any projects, plywood is not cheap. Depending on where you get it, it could be $60 a sheet, $80 a sheet. And then with roofing, it automatically costs you $100. Whether it's $60 at the store or not, they charge $100 for a sheet of plywood, and then I guess to nail it down. Well, they pulled a dumpster into my driveway, And with my security camera, I'm actually like looking into the dumpster, and throughout the day, I just see more and more wood going into the dumpster. So before he even texted me, I knew that there was a lot more wood being replaced than they originally thought. So that's what I thought the phone call was about. He was going to tell me like, hey, like we had to replace a lot more wood, which I already knew it was coming. So I call him, and he says, hey, he's like, hey, like how's it going? I'm like, well, I'm not looking forward to this phone call. And he's like, oh, he's like, well, it's 50-50, good and bad. I was like, what's up? He's like, well, we did have to use more wood. I was like, yeah, I saw it on the video. He's like, that's not the bad news. I'm like, all right, what's the bad news? He's like, well, because the wood was so rotten, one of the roofers fell through the roof and went through your ceiling inside the house. He didn't fall all the way through the ceiling, but his legs went through the ceiling. I was like, oh my God. I was like, is he okay? And they're like, yep, he's okay, but I need it in your house so I can see what we have to do to fix this, because obviously that's on them. But I was like, in the back of my head, I'm like, where did they fall through the roof? Was it in the fish room? Because the immediate issue I thought of is I have like blown in insulation. If you don't know what that is, it's like, think of fake snow. It's just this like little particle powder stuff, and it's like, I think it's 18 inches deep if I remember right, through the whole attic. And I know every time I go in the attic, it becomes like a winter wonderland. That stuff's horrible. It's like, I don't know, shredded paper or cotton. I don't know what it is, but it's very fluffy and messy. The key word is messy. So all I can think about was, all right, so they put a hole in my ceiling, and a ton of that stuff had to go down inside my house. Did it happen in the fish room where there's no lids on the fish tanks? I'm thinking like it's probably not toxic, but if there's insulation, it's not fiberglass. I don't think. I don't know what it is, but I'm like, I can only imagine that going into 30 different fish tanks. So the contractor actually was like going to pick his son up from school or something. So when I got home, he wasn't here. He was like on his way. So I walked in the house and I'm like looking. I'm like, all right, it's not in the family room. It's not in the kitchen. Go to the fish room. I'm like, it's not in the fish room. I'm like, well, there's only 3 bedrooms left in, I guess, the bathroom. So I look in the bathrooms. It's not in the bathrooms. I'm like, please don't be in the master bedroom. That's the last thing I want, is like a hole above the bed. Not in the bedroom. So I come in here. There's 2 fish tanks in here. I'm like, there's no hole in here either. Like, is it in the best possible place for this to happen? Is the bedroom that's right next to me? It's a storage room. The fish room was a storage room, but when I made that the fish room, all my storage stuff, Christmas decorations, camping gear, that kind of stuff, had to go somewhere. I don't have a basement, so it went into my 3rd bedroom. So really, it's just a storage room. So I open that door, and sure as crap, there's a hole in the ceiling. So I didn't know how big it was. I was thinking like a foot size. No, it's like 3 feet by 2 feet. So yeah, there's a hole in the ceiling. So the contractor I'm using is, I'll say it's a friend. I met him a few years ago, actually on the lake. He's a good friend of my coworker, and he's a really good guy. First time I met him, we were on the lake, and he has a pontoon boat. I have an open bow boat, so his is more of a party boat, where mine's more like for tubing and stuff like that. And the first time I met him, and it was actually the first time I ever had my boat out, he was grilling, and he didn't know who I was. He knew my buddy that I was with, and he like offered like lunch, dinner, like all this stuff. Like, he was super nice. So the reason I mention that is like, it's not just some stranger. So I was like, all right, it's not that bad. Like, nobody got hurt. I know he'll fix this. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to mess with him a little bit. So he knows I have a ton of fish tanks. He's been in my fish room. He hasn't been in the rest of the house, but he knows I have a ton of tanks. So I text him, because I know he's on his way. I said, hey man, do you have a shop vac? A piece of wood from the ceiling hit my 150-gallon tank. I don't even have a 150-gallon, but I just was like throwing out a number. I was like, a piece of wood hit my 150, and it busted the glass. The house is flooded with water. All the fish are dead. Because I'm like, all right, let me give him like this worst case scenario. Then when he walks in the house, I'll be like, oh, just kidding. It's not that bad. Like, and then he'll be happy. So he like rings the doorbell as I hit send. I open the door and he's like, "What's up, man?" I'm like, "Did you get my text?" He's like, "No." And like, so he pulls his phone out, and all he reads is "fish tank busted, house flooded." And he goes, "I knew it." He's like, "I knew there would be a freaking fish tank under that." He's like, and then like he read it again. He's like, "Oh, I didn't think about being busted." He thought that there'd be a fish tank and the insulation stuff would get in the water and kill the fish. He never thought of it like something hitting the glass and breaking it. So he immediately is like angry at the roofers because he's a contractor. It's not his guys doing the roof. It's a company he works with because being a general contractor, he's like, all right, I got this company that does roof. I got this company that does interior work. Blah blah blah. He does his business though. He does exterior trim. So I think like siding and stuff like that. Uh, So he steps foot in the house, and I was like, man, I'm just kidding with you. Like, it's okay. It's like best possible scenario. It's in my storage room. It sucks, but so he looks at it, takes some pictures. I think they're going to come out. They said possibly today, which I haven't heard from them, so I'm guessing not today. But they said Monday to fix everything. So that was yesterday's crapshoot. So got that taken care of. Went and picked up the dogs. Um, got home, and I didn't think I could have went live last night. I was home in time, but just with this cold, I'm like, I'm just gonna stick with this Saturday stream and go from there. I haven't read the chat yet. I'll get to that in a second, but I thought I'd catch you guys up to where we're at today. My friend's car's done. I'm waiting for her to come at some point today to pick it up, and then back to normal things. Back to things as normal, I guess. Today's project is cleaning this tank. It's driving me nuts. The blackbeard algae is growing. And so what I want to do is, I haven't done water changes on it. It's only been water top-offs. Nitrates are at like 40 parts per million. But what I want to start doing is, well, I take that back. I did do one water change a few weeks ago, and it knocked out like all the blackbeard algae that was on the back glass. It like knocked it out. But there's still blackbeard algae on the plants, and I want to get rid of that. So I'm going to start doing water changes today. I want to do a couple water changes over the period of the day, but my goal is to do like a 90% water change. The fish will be fine with a 90% water change. I'll do probably a 50% first, and then let everything settle for a few hours, make sure water temp's good, and then do like a 40%. Just to do a big water change to get any kind of, if there's any extra phosphates or anything in there that could be feeding the blackbeard. A lot of times with blackbeard, it's caused by low CO2 levels. So I'm just going to try to do some water changes and see if that will help correct it. Let me see what else is on my list. And so this list is from 2 weeks ago, which I didn't go live 2 weeks ago, so I don't think I've mentioned this. But if I did, I'm sorry, but I'm going to re-go over some of this information. Glow Light Tetras. I've had these things for well over a year, and they haven't been selling. They're priced at $2 a piece. I'm like, I don't know why they're not selling. Like, they're pretty awesome fish, and I bet that it's probably been a year and a half, I would say, I've had them. Well, I was on the website and working on it a few weeks ago, and I realized they weren't on the website. I had them listed, but for some reason it never posted. So that sucked. So this whole time I've been wondering like why no one's ever bought glow lights over a year and a half. Haven't sold one. Well, it's because they weren't on the website. Excuse me. This cold's going to suck. I'm going to try to work through it, but so they're on the website. If anybody's interested in glow light tetras, they are $2. Fish room. I don't know if I mentioned this before or not. I did add a sponge filter to the 55-gallon no filter shrimp tank. That tank hasn't had a filter, I don't think, ever. But I was starting to get like oils on the surface from like reaching in there, grabbing Christmas moss out, feeding them. You get that oily film buildup. So I did add a sponge filter just to get that aeration going to keep the film off the top. So I did do that. And I added 15 auto feeders. I feel like I talked about that. But I have the Gen 1 aquarium co-ops. I bought a ton of them like a year ago. I set 15 of them up in the fish room. So that kind of was like an all-day project. So I basically make my own fish food. It's mainly Tetracolor tropical granules. I don't really make it. So I take this, but these are too, the particle size is too big for most of those fish tanks. I like to grind up these into smaller size food. Well, with the auto feeder, it's not going to grind it up. So I had to basically pre-grind. I think I went through 6 of these jars to fill up all the auto feeders. So that took all day. It wasn't just the food part. What it was is the majority of the problems that people had with those first gen auto feeders, I think was all battery issues. The batteries that came with them were just junk. I'll just be honest, they were junk. It was nice that they included a battery, but the batteries, and from my testing, the battery could last 2 months. Is what the longest one I had last was 2 months. But I had some batteries that literally lasted like 2 days, and then they had to be replaced. So the battery manufacturer had no quality control. I'm sure they're the cheapest batteries that they could put in the box. So I learned that forever ago. I was like, when Corey came out with his auto feeders, he released them to members first. I bought some like before they went public, and that's what I ran into was the batteries just sucked. So he discontinued that first one because of failure rate. I probably have I don't know 20 to 25, maybe more of these auto feeders. Every single one of them works. Not one has been bad. I do plan to give away one of those when I do the 3,000 sub giveaway. And I'll talk about that here in a minute because I have some more ideas for the giveaway. And I want to run them by you guys and see what you guys think. So, now I'm lost. The first thing I did was I changed out all the batteries to my rechargeables. I just buy bulk packs of like AA rechargeable batteries from Amazon. They're fairly inexpensive and they work pretty well. I think it's like EBL brand if anybody's looking for rechargeable batteries, but that's why I use in everything in the house. Wall clocks, TV remotes, I just use rechargeables. And that way, you know, they used to be so much more expensive that it wasn't really, I mean, it was still worth it, but they were so expensive. Now rechargeable batteries are fairly inexpensive, so I don't buy regular batteries anymore. I think it's, I don't know if you want to call it going green, but I think it does help save some batteries from going to the dump. But so I replaced them all with rechargeable batteries. That's what took forever. So each auto feeder takes, I think it's just one battery. But my charger, you have to charge 2 or 4 batteries at once. It won't charge like a single battery. So I had to charge all those batteries up. So I could charge 4 at a time, which would take, let's say, an hour. So every hour I could set up 4 feeders, and so it took multiple hours just to charge the batteries. I should have did it beforehand, but I did it. I got motivated on that day. I'm like, all right, I'm going to set up all these auto feeders. So I got that done, and that helps a lot. So all those tanks are being fed. I have it set for twice a day, which is more than I was feeding before. Before I was feeding every tank once a day. So now they're getting fed twice a day, first in the morning, second time at night. And, you know, if that was on an auto water change system, that'd be even better because then the whole system would be self-sustaining other than monitoring, you know, the health of the fish, making sure there's no like water leaks or anything like that. But the lights are all on Wi-Fi adapters or they're Fluval, which are Bluetooth, and then the auto feeders. So almost fully automated. The water changes would be next. Let me go on. Summer tubbing. So now it's getting cold enough to where I need to break down the 500-gallon pond. I've been thinking of multiple ways to do this, and you know, siphoning water out like with a hose. I think what I actually want to do is, it's got a drain plug on the side. I want to try to, without pulling that plug and then having everything rush out, I want to try to get a hose that will kind of fit in that drain plug. And what I want to do is run it to a smaller tub and put basically a fishnet. I'm not going to use a fishnet because I'm going to need something bigger because there's probably going to be leaves and all sorts of stuff that's going to come out. I got this net material, so I basically want the water to go out of the pond through a net and then just onto the ground or wherever, but I want to catch whoever comes out that drain. I'm hoping I can just use the drain to transfer guppies out of that pond into a tub. Once I get them out of that pond, I gotta put them somewhere. And this is where I kind of went sideways couple winters ago when I brought the fish indoors. I didn't have anywhere to put them, so I set up another tank that's in my kitchen, and that's the tequila sunrise guppies. And then they've never left the kitchen. That tank's still there because they breed in that tank, and that's what I pull from. So I don't want to keep setting up more tanks in the house because the goal is to consolidate everything. So I do have I think it's 100 gallon, like I was gonna say Rubbermaid. I don't think it's Rubbermaid. It's not Rubbermaid, but it's the other like stock tank. It's the rubber one. I don't know if it's like Tough Stuff, something like that. But I think it's like 100 gallons. So I have that. There's nothing in it other than like there's been tadpole fry in there. What I want to do is put that in the garage. I have room in the garage now because I did sell. I'm sure as most all of you guys know in this chat, I sold the 200 gallon cube to the metalheads. They came last weekend and picked it up. So where that 200 gallon cube was sitting in the garage, I'm going to put the 100 gallon pond in the garage, move the 500 gallon pond guppies into that 100 gallon, and they're going to overwinter in the garage. It'll be better than being out in the elements, and I can drop a heater in there and just set the heater to like 60 degrees, and the guppies will do just fine over winter. The garage isn't that insulated, but it would be better than being outdoor. Show you fish at Roughneck. I don't think it's Roughneck. I forget what it's called. It's from Tractor Supply. Go away. Go away. Come on. Tough Stuff is what it's called. It's 110 gallons. So it's a 110 gallon stock tank, which we just call them like above ground ponds. They're listed for $80. I think I got mine for $40, I believe. So my buddy Mike bought like 4 of them off of the same guy the master breeder that did the brilliant bristle nose. He had a bunch of these at his house and was selling them. So Mike bought 4. He only wanted 2, and I bought 1 off of him, and I think it was $40. But Tough Stuff. So, anyways, I think that's the plan for the pond, and I want to do this today or tomorrow. It's supposed to be raining today, so depending on weather, priority is this tank first, and then once this tank's done, then I'll work on the pond, breaking that down, and getting the guppies inside. All right, where am I at? As far as setting that up, I did put a note. I think what I'm going to do is just pull a couple filters out of the indoor tanks. I could even pull the filter I put in the shrimp tank that I used for aeration. It's going to be seeded by now. It's been in there for a few weeks. So I could pull that out because that tank doesn't need the filter. I'm just using it basically for aeration. And you might as well just have a sponge filter in there because the shrimp will eat off of it. And it's an extra large Hikari sponge filter. It's a big one, so it would be great for that pond. So I'll probably just take that out because it's already seeded. And then I can take other sponge filters and squeeze them out into the pond. That way that beneficial bacteria, all that malm, ends up in that water, and that will basically seed the pond immediately. So that's the plan for that. Current videos, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if I'm pretty sure, but I think I mentioned I did the jungle val in the cholla wood. That was in a live stream a few weeks ago about, like, I don't know if I brought it up or one of you guys brought it up about putting jungle val inside of cholla wood. So I made a video on that, of like basically setting that up and putting it in a tank. I've just been letting it like grow. It's fairly slow growing right now, which it's kind of surprising because jungle val usually grows super quick. I did add fertilizers to all the tanks today, so I don't know if they were lacking on some micro or macronutrients, but I did fertilize. So when that kind of grows more, I can finish that video and then release that. The other one is a Repashy cake video, just showing how I make Repashy. Normally I do it in a Tupperware bowl and it lasts 2 days. I go through quite a bit of Repashy feeding all the tanks in just 2 days. So that was the original video of how I make it, because the Repashy says use this much water, add this much powder, or whatever. I don't go off the instructions. I just mix it and go. I just go with it basically. But as I was filming that, I stopped because I had an idea. Instead of making Repashy, I'm going to make a Repashy cake with other stuff in it. So that video is almost done. I just want to film a little bit more details on a couple things, then I'll release that. So there's 2 videos right now that are just kind of in limbo that I'm working on. Logistics jam. So I like to update you guys not only in the fish world but car world. Just everybody's affected by logistics everywhere. So I've been mentioning about over the summer they were having problems with tank manufacturers getting glass. So because the tank manufacturers couldn't get glass, it was limiting the fish tanks being produced. One of my wholesalers said that they were trying to source fish tanks that were made like in Brazil. I'm guessing most of the fish tanks are made in China, is my guess. I don't know that for fact, but that would be my guess. Well, this company was trying to source tanks that were being made in Brazil because Brazil had glass available or something like that. I got an email this week, so that was over the summer, like months ago. I got an email this past week that it's from Aqueon, and Aqueon's like the biggest glass tank manufacturer. If you go, pretty much everybody has an Aqueon tank. If you go Petco, PetSmart, Pet Supplies Plus, those are all Aqueons. The dollar per gallon tanks are Aqueons. Well, Aqueon has discontinued the 120s and the 180s. So they'll no longer be doing those tanks. I believe they said everything 90 gallons and above, if they still make it, will be black silicone only, which is not a big deal. I don't have a problem with black silicone. I think it's kind of hit or miss. I think it looks nicer, but the downside of black silicone is if you're trying to do, I guess it would be like more with like rimless tanks. Sapporo uses black silicone a lot. I feel like when you have a rimless tank, you have black silicone, it takes away from that clean rimless look, because then it looks like you have plastic uprights. So in that case, if it was rimless, I definitely would want clear. But I think they're doing black because they're limiting their options. Like, hey, like we're making this 180 or whatever size, which is weird. Or no, they're not doing 180s anymore because they discontinued them. Which, a lot of people might never ever buy a 180. But if you were planning on buying 180, I would do it now because they're not making them anymore. I'm guessing that's due to glass shortages in sizes. They're probably getting their glass like pre-cut for 10-gallon tanks. It probably comes in on a skid and then they assemble all these tanks. Being that they're only cutting out the large tanks, I'm guessing they rather take that large sheet of glass and make 10-gallon tanks out of it instead of one big tank. That would be my theory, is they're trying to make more of the smaller tanks that are more popular, the 5.5 gallons, the 10s, the 20s, 29s, stuff like that. So those are being discontinued. Frozen food shortage, I mentioned that a few weeks ago. There's a big jam on the East Coast with the frozen food storage facilities. I'm going to cough here again. I can feel it. That's kind of it for fish stuff. As far as shortages, car industry is getting worse. Right now, we can't get 0W20 oil. That's specific for our brand. Sorry, guys. Hope that's not loud because there's a microphone right here. But we can't get 0W20. Coolant, engine coolant, is on a shortage for us, but we use a specific coolant. The normal green stuff that you buy at the auto parts store, that's probably still available. Audi uses this pink stuff, and then we have like two or three different kinds that are specific to certain cars. That's on a shortage, and we've been having issues with that pretty much all year. And then I have word that there's going to be a shortage on car batteries this winter. And guess what time of year is the busiest time for car batteries? Winter. That's when they always fail, and they're predicting a shortage before we even hit winter. So that sucks. All right, I think I hit all the topics I wanted to. Let me get in the chat. I'm sure there's 5 million messages. And this headphone is in my way. HSP, good to see you. Mystery Snail Guardians. Metalheads said at SDO Quacks, you got me sick. I think you got me sick. You brought that Fort Wayne crud to my house. So I think it was like, I think the day after you were here, I woke up and like, like when you start getting a cold, like you wake up and you're like, you can tell your throat's a little bit sore, but not like that bad. You're like it could be a 1 day sore throat and then you're fine, or it's like, hey, like I'm about to get hit by a freight train. So I think Monday was kind of like sore throat, and Tuesday was like the runny nose. Wednesday was starting cough. Thursday was coughing. Friday was just coughing and stuff. Right now, my throat's scratchy because I'm actually talking a lot today. So I'm trying to keep that down, but we'll see. Other than that, I feel pretty good. It's just this whole like sore throat, and it's this stupid cold I get. It's like once a year thing. Like every year I get this cold. It's I don't want to be like graphic, but it's basically your sinuses drain down your throat, and that's what makes you cough. That's what I get like every year. It used to be really bad years ago. Now it's kind of like I get it. It's usually like 7 to 10 days. It used to be like I'd be sick for a month, but I don't know. But yeah, the worst part is like, all right, I got this cold, and then if you cough, gosh forbid you're at like the post office, because this is what happened to me. I was at the post office. I had a cough. Coughed once. Everybody looks at you like you're a suicide bomber or something. Like, I don't know. It's crazy. Like they're all like COVID. Like I swear I'm just it's a cold. But anyways, Stephen P 2003. Good to see you. Patty's Petite Tanks. Good to see you. I'm trying to catch up. If you have any questions, tag me, because I'm trying to scroll through all of these messages now. If you do have any questions, just tag me, or if you're trying to speak to me in general, that helps. Scott's Aquatics, good to see you. Jenny Lynn, Degenerate Fish Keeper, good to see everybody. Trying to move. So depending also on how this pond breakdown goes, I don't know how many guppies are in there. So there's been over the summer, there's thousands of guppies for sure. Being that it's getting really cold at night, it's possible I could be losing some. Maybe the least hardy of the ones don't like it being this cold. That's why I want to get them out this weekend. I know yesterday I looked and there's still guppies in there for sure. They're not swimming around a whole lot because it is cold. They're kind of going more dormant. Guppies can overwinter outside if they're insulated and they do have some heat. I know Lucas Brett's overwinters guppies outside, but his ponds are insulated. They usually have a lid, but he does run heaters in them to keep the water from really getting too frozen. I don't do that. I don't try to. The pond's not heated, so I'd have to run probably a few thousand watts of heat into it to keep it up to temp, being that it's not insulated, and I'm not trying to run thousands of watts of heat into the pond over for some guppies. You know what I mean? My whole fish room is heated off of, well, really mainly it's just heated off of the dehumidifier. The dehumidifier produces enough heat in its process that it keeps the fish room hot. If I didn't have the dehumidifier, I have an oil heater. I think it's 1100 watts, and that heats the fish room. So I can heat 30 fish tanks with 1100 watts. So if you break that down, that'd be like 11 100-watt heaters. So it's way more efficient to heat the room. Super inefficient to heat a pond outside. Yeah, so depending on what I bring in, there could be some really cool strains. That's the 614 guppies, and it's been Vienna culls. So the Vienna guppies have been there mixing with the 614 rocket guppies. So who knows what's going to pop out of that. But as I bring them in, I might keep my eyes on them and be like, oh, like this is a cool pair. Let me pull those out, put them in the rack system, let them do their thing, and kind of go from there. Oh no, my chat just jumped. Hang on. Do, 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 do. I just randomly came across Von Yenzer said, "We are looking to give an elderly Pitty a home for the rest of his life. He is 18." 18-year-old pit bull. That is extremely old for a pit bull. Like, extremely old. That's crazy. 18. That's insane. Havana is 10 years. How long have I had her? 3 years now? 4 years? So she's 10 or 11, and she's starting to show her age a bit. Um, when she's around other dogs, she acts like she's 2 years old. The next day, though, she is limping and super sore. There are times now I have to help her get up in the truck. She used to be able to just run and jump into the truck. Now I kind of have to either pick her up. Sometimes she's got enough pep in her step that she hops up, but sometimes I have to help her up. Same thing with going to bed. Sometimes she can run, jump on the bed. Sometimes I gotta pick her up. But she's showing her age at 10 or 11, so I can only imagine 18. That's crazy. IHSP says, I prefer black silicone. Yeah, I don't know. I think it depends on the tank for me. I don't mind black. Um, I think if it was a rimless tank, I wouldn't want black. I still want clear. Mike says, Steven, you see the Cincinnati Fish Group is having a swap on October 30th. Where's my calendar? It's next Saturday. I work next Saturday, so that sucks. So I was actually going to swap next Saturday, my work days next Saturday to today, but I knew with uh, everything that's been going on this week, it's been crazy that I was like, I need to get stuff done on Saturday because like right now I need to do laundry for this week's worth of laundry. I need to work on this tank, work on the pond. I was going to clean the storage room because it's got all that insulation, but I'm like, it's just going to get worse. Like I could vacuum all that up, but when they come in on Monday to cut out, because they got cut, it's like a round hole. They got to cut it square, put new drywall up, and then they have to. I have like a stamped ceiling, so now they have to re-stamp it to match it, and like it's just gonna make a mess. So I'm like, I'm not even worried about it. I'll let them clean it up. But anyways, I was gonna swap because next Friday I was invited up to Ohio Fish Rescue for their live stream. So I believe, unless things have changed in the last week since I talked to Josh, um, Big Rich won't be there next week. I think it's Aquashella, possibly. Maybe. I don't know. So Josh said he was doing a live stream on his own and that he was going to do like a costume party type deal. I have an awesome Halloween costume, guys. It's legit. I've taken the best costume of the party award before with it. So I was going to do that costume, but I have to work Saturday, so I'm not going to drive up to Cleveland and then drive back that night. Like that's not going to happen. So that's why I was going to swap, but that's not going to happen now either. Um, I mean, I guess I could swap forward if I can find somebody that's working the weekend after. But either way, even if I went up to OFR, then I wouldn't be going to Cincinnati. Um, Now, if Cincinnati's swap isn't like later in the day, it might be something where I can get off work and go down. Um, but usually they're not later in the day. But I mean, I wouldn't mind going to a swap meet again. HSP says got that same crud right now. Yeah, I think a couple people at my work, got this cold, and I think my boss had it because I told him he was like, "How'd training go?" I'm like, "Oh, it went good until I got sick." Uh, and I'm just trying not to cough in class. We had to wear masks and stuff. But I'm like, anybody hears somebody coughing, they're just like, "Oh, he's got the COVID." When it's just a cold. I've had COVID. I had it last year. This is not it. This is like a cold. No fever or anything. Just it's all sinuses. It's the sinuses are causing all the issues. J Rock Does Stuff has been lurking most of the show, transferring guppies to new tanks. My chat just jumped. I saw something about Rico Stan was here, possibly. Where did my chat go? Poor old guy's owner is not able to take care of him due to illness, and his sister and mother are trying to find a good home. I'll be honest, 100% honest with this. I love Havana. She's the best dog ever. Uh, she is great with kids. She's great with people. If I don't want to say if I allow her to be, if you're my friends, she's great. She's protective of the house. So if somebody walks up to the front door, she loses her mind, and I have no doubt that she would try to chew on you. She went after the postman one time. But if I said, like, if I went to the door and be like, it's okay, and the postman was there, she'd be totally fine. She'd go out there and whatever. When the roofer or my general contractor was here, he came in the house. She didn't even care he was in here. Like, I was cool. She was cool. The honest part about pit bulls, though, is, they do get a bad rap. They do deserve some of it as being a pit bull owner. If Havana sees something and she wants it, she will not listen. Being a cat and a skunk so far, she went after a skunk. I yelled at her to stop, like screaming at her. She did not hear me. She turned off her ears and got the skunk. So I can see where there could be issues that, let's say, somebody's walking on the sidewalk, she's getting threatened that they're at my house. She'd go run after somebody. I just know that I won't be able to stop her. So that's a bad problem. They don't listen very well. But even with that, they're great dogs. The issue I'm having is, I told you guys I want to sell my house. So I was kind of thinking, like, I'll sell my house, move into an apartment for a year until I can find what I want. Easy peasy. Well, I can't take a pit bull to any apartment around here. So they're on the, I don't know if you can call it like banned dog breed list, breed restriction list. That's what it's called. So apartments either have breed restrictions or they have a weight limit. So the weight limit, I think, is also a way to get rid of some of the worst. No, I don't want to say worse. Some of the problem breeds. So a lot of places either have like a 25 or 30-pound weight limit, which even Charlotte's more than that, or they don't allow German Shepherds, no pit bulls, Dobermans. I think bulldogs in general, bully breeds. Dobermans, Rottweilers, like big dogs. So the apartment thing's out of play. And my buddy was like, "Oh, just don't tell him." Like, it's gonna be kind of hard to walk a Dalmatian and a pit bull without them noticing because it's not a common pair of breed that you see together. A Dalmatian and a pit bull. They're going to notice the pit bull right away, and they're going to notice the Dalmatian. Like, both those breeds, they're going to notice. Like, there's no way I can hide that, and it's just not worth the risk of, like, I've lived here for a month and now I gotta move out and try to find somewhere. Yeah, let me close this out. So I don't know the whole house thing. I want to sell, I want to move, but trying to find the next place is kind of impossible right now without basically hitting the lottery. Yeah. Von Yinzer said at SEO Quacks, "Oh yeah, he is not fixed. Such a sweetheart. We met him and his owner a few times at the local small dog park. Watch Max climb up the stairs out in front of the house." Let me I think I'm catching up. At SC Aquatics, my wife had them in the past. And yeah, we understand how they can be. We have had more issues with dachshund bites ourselves than any other dogs. Any dog, I think, could be a problem. I don't know. I personally don't like Chihuahuas. My sister has one currently that's actually an okay dog. She had one way before that was very nippy. Um, he kind of was a little jerk. Um, I'm trying to think. I've only ever had like one dog bite me, and it was a problem dog. I don't know the breed. It was a mixed breed small dog. It was one of my friends. They were having a get together. I don't want to say party because it was very adultish, like kind of cookout, just hanging around, talking, whatever. Um, and I went to say bye, and the dog bit my hand and it didn't let go of my hand. It actually got my finger and it wouldn't let go. And like I didn't panic. I was like, ow. And I'm looking at the dog. I'm like, let go. And I pulled out and I was bleeding. But I didn't make a big deal about it. I knew they were having some problems with that dog, uh, being very protective of my friend's wife. And needless to say, like I think like not, but a couple months later they had to. I don't know if they had the dog put down or if they got someone that could train it, but the dog was becoming very unpredictable with anybody at that point. Um, so I believe that dog went somewhere. I don't know if it went to the farm or if it went to a specialist, but they no longer have that dog. They have a different dog now that's super nice. We had Corgi mix and all that double coat. I can't imagine Husky shedding. So Husky, my buddy's got Husky. That thing, I've only been around it once. It sheds like crazy. It was like middle of summer, and we were at. It was my old house, not my house. The old place I lived with my roommates. We had a big pool, and it had a big deck and stuff, and it was the place to go in the summer. All these parties. It was great. It was a great time. Um, we had a cookout. And we were playing volleyball in the pool. He brought the husky over, and it's running around having a great time. And a few hours later, when everybody was leaving, we get out of the pool, and like the deck was covered in dog hair. I couldn't believe how much dog hair was on the deck, just outside, like with wind and stuff. You think it'd kind of blow away. It looked like he got like combed, like groomed that whole day. There's dog hair everywhere. I couldn't believe it. I was like, no way. Havana doesn't really shed. Maybe once a year you might be able to like pull, like like when dogs are shedding, you can kind of pull their hair off of them. That's loose. She might do that like once or twice a year, and it's very light. Charlotte sheds like all year long. She drops hair like pretty consistently all year long. But she's really her fur is very soft. I thought it might have been a puppy thing, but she's coming up 3 years old now, and her hair is still really soft, which I'm kind of surprised it's so short. I think it'd be kind of like stiff, but she's really soft. But Dalmatians shed pretty good. Mike said it's hard to beat my killer black labs. My pup went on his first hunt today. Talk about a happy dog. I'm trying to remember. I think it's Thunder and Storm. If that's correct, Mike, is it Thunder and Storm? I think it's Thunder and Storm. I get him confused though. Which one's the pup's name? I feel like the pup is Thunder. I forget. They are good dogs. Best Friends Animal Sanctuary in Southwest Utah is a place that has taken in aggressive animals. That is where Michael Vick's dogs ended up. It's a great facility. If anybody's ever in that area, I highly recommend a visit. That's cool. That's cool that there's places that can possibly help those dogs. Thunder is dad and pup Thunder. Thunder is dad and pup Thunder? Is pup Storm? I'm confused by that comment. I think something didn't translate there. I'm guessing Storm is the puppy. But they're good dogs. It's funny because like the puppy, well, he's not even like a puppy anymore. He's pretty big now. I think the first time Mike brought him over, he was a puppy. But the dad, Thunder, you just tell he's like, this puppy's got so much energy. He's just chilling in the truck, and the puppy's all over the place. Storm is dad, pup is Thunder. Okay, so Storm is like super, super chill, and then Thunder is like, hey, what's going on? But anyways, guys, I'm starting to, I can tell my throat's about to start going all coffee here again. Coffee, not coffee. Coughing again. So I'm probably going to wrap this up. And the water changes on this tank are a little bit more, not intense, but it takes a little bit more effort. So the way I change water on this tank, because there's nothing like in this room to change water with, I bring my water change trash can into here. I use a Python, and I start siphoning out of the tank into the trash can. And then from the trash can, I run my sump pump that's in the fish room. I take that, bring it down here, put that in, and I run a garden hose to the bathroom bathtub, and I pump the water to the bathtub. What sucks is that I need that sump pump to bring the water to here. I bring water from the fish room down the length of my house using like 100-foot garden hose through the hallway down to here, so that way it gets water that's treated in the fish room. That's what I fill this tank up with. So I can't really drain some, add some, drain some. I had to drain it all and then switch the pump out and then fill it, and then I'll probably let it sit until later tonight, then I'll do it again. But anyways, I'm gonna wrap it up there. I don't think it's been an hour, but just wanted to get that live stream in, and then we'll see how this coming week goes. Personally, I like Saturday live streams better than Fridays, mainly because Friday nights I'm usually really tired. The volleyball thing has pretty much ended because of weather. Last Friday it was storming. The Friday before, it was cold. It was on, but it was cold. I think there's only like a week left, and judging by the weather, it's probably not even going to happen. There is indoor volleyball. It doesn't really stop. Outdoor volleyball stops and it moves to indoor, and that's on Friday nights. But in general, I'm just usually kind of tired on Fridays. I would much rather do it Saturday, but we'll see. Maybe I'll end up switching to a weekend time frame. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I will see you next weekend, whether it's Friday or if it ends up being a Saturday or Sunday or whatever. I'll try to shoot for Friday night, but thanks for watching. I'll catch you later. I'm going to go try to rest my talker. Let me move this chat back. Come on. That's not what I wanted. All right. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next weekend. And I hope you guys have a great weekend.